Hello, welcome to another CISSP Certification Study Hour. My name is Michael Buckby, and as always, we are trying to collectively work together to study for the CISSP exam. I used to have my CISSP, I had passed the test, I got the certification, I got the cool diploma. It seemed like a diploma. And then I let my certification lapse and now need to retake the test. So we're going to spend some time over the next hour to go through some of the different common bodies of knowledge. How this mostly works is we've been working off of Quizlet, which is ISC squared official quizzes that are out on the site. Anyone can access them. You don't even need to sign up. Working through those together and just go back and forth. Really encourage people in the chat to answer as we go along. And typically the person that does best in chat, very informally judged, we can send out a cool mug too. If you drink out of mugs. If you drink out of something else, I think you're really on your own. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. This is the first of the common bodies of knowledge areas, Domain 1, security and risk management. Let's just rewind this so that we're starting at the beginning. Okay. Procedures implemented to define the roles, responsibilities, policies, and administrative functions needed to manage the control environment. So, in any security setting, the things security professionals use to describe, first time joining, nice to talk to you, Rudy, is controls. So the control is any system or individual bit of technology or rule that confers security in a particular aspect. So this is used a lot. So procedures are part of that, but also, like a firewall rule or something. So I believe in this case, it's administrative controls. There you go. Okay. Hey, and Jeremy got it right. Good job, Jeremy. Also, there's a lag with this. So if I'm not giving enough time for people to actually answer, please let me know. All right, here we go. An estimate of how often a threat will be successful in exploiting a vulnerability over the period of a year. So this is one of the many different metrics that come up in this. And we're trying for a very management term here. So usually anything that takes place in a year, it's annualized. So it's like annualized something. Annualized rate of vulnerability, annualized rate of exploitation. Is the CISSP all multiple choice? I believe the answer is yes. I haven't actually looked into the most updated version and the test taking, but I believe it's multiple choice. And given COVID and that it's remote, I've heard the proctoring of it is very intense. It's very much like you need to not look away from the screen and just answer and click through as you go through it. ARO, annualized rate of occurrence. Great job. Jeremy Animir. Hello, this is George from Lebanon, Beirut City. Well, that's not what your name says, but that's okay. We'll call you whatever you like. George. Welcome, George. All right. Yes, ARO, annualized rate of occurrence. The tough part here is that, this is exploiting a vulnerability, but there's a lot of stuff that occurs annually. So, all right. Authorizes the president to designate those items that shall be considered as defense articles and defense services and control their import and export. So I'm going to give everyone a couple seconds to answer. One of those things you need in day-to-day security work, knowing which acts of Congress and the president and laws were put in place to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. So. All right, I believe this is the Weapons Control Act of 1976. Let's see if I'm right. Oh, the Arms Export Control Act of 1976. And I think this is mostly in here because of limitations on cryptography. Policies. Yeah. Oh, 8-bit's back. Hey, but all right. The principle then ensures that information is available and accessible to users when needed. All right, it's night here in Nepal. It's morning here. It's lunchtime. We're really trying to set this up for lunchtime for the East Coast US people, because that seems to be like where most of the viewers are at. So I don't know if you want to look at me while you're having lunch, but at least listen in and maybe we can learn something. Is there a similar session for CSIM as I am studying for that? Annette, sorry, right now we're just doing the CISSP, but certainly once it passed that, we can work on the other ones. And there is a lot of overlap between these. Like, it's very difficult to work on any of these and not have overlap between them. So still good. And Jeremy, I think, has the right answer, which is availability. Great job, Jeremy. And the comedy says hello. Hey. All right. An incident that results in the disclosure or potential exposure of data. So this is something that's thrown me off before. Like something I do a lot in the job is sometimes like currently try to figure out like, is this actually something that occurred? And if so, for this organization, they need to report this to, the whatever the governing body of data regulations and security is. So an incident that results in the disclosure or potential exposure of data. And I'm just waiting because I think it's kind of laggy today. All right. And no one seems to be answering, but I believe the answer is breach. And the thing that trips up a lot of people is this potential exposure, that it doesn't actually have to be like a CSV that people can download on the internet. Yeah, Amir got it with data breach. Again, if this is going too quick with the weird lag, just let me know. But it can be any potential exposure. The thing that I always come back to is ransomware. That, if your internal network is compromised with ransomware and files are encrypted, you've lost exposure or control of those. And that could be a potential exposure, even if it isn't that they've been exfiltrated from your network. Okay. All right. Controls that substitute for the loss of primary controls and mitigate risk down to an acceptable level. Mitigate risk. Substitute for the loss. Redundant controls, maybe. First time. We're using Restream. It just says LinkedIn user, but first time user from LinkedIn. Very happy to have you here. Controls that substitute for the loss of primary controls and mitigate risk down to an acceptable level. So we're all competing, quote unquote, to answer these. And really, we're just trying to study together so everyone can get their CISSP. Controls that substitute for the loss. Mitigate risk down to acceptable level. Acceptable loss controls, remediation controls. And now this isn't clicking. Compensating controls. All right. Actions that ensure behavior that complies with established rules. Actions that ensure behavior. So there's established rules. Compensating control. Man. Jeremy, you're doing great. Have you been studying? So, actions that ensure behavior that complies with established rules. This procedures? Compliance? All right. Compliance. Actions that ensure behavior. Very good. 8-bit only got it. Compliance. Supports the principle of least privilege by providing that only authorized individuals, processes, or systems should have access to information on a need-to-know basis. Supports the principle of least privilege. So this is a system that supports that. By providing that only authorized individuals, process, or systems should have access to information on a need-to-know basis. Authorization? Reduced authorization? Just waiting for chat to chime in with something. Confidentiality. Yeah. Role-based access control is what Jeremy said. And a net. Yeah, it's hard with these that it's so broad. Everyone loves role-based access controls. It's too good. This is just confidentiality. There's a lot of talk with the CISSP of like the manager's mindset for this, or, I think one of the prominent CISSP study people, I've heard them say that, security transcends technology, and like role-based access control, still kind of conceptual, but a lot of times they're going for the super broad term. Someone asked, what is the name of the Quizlet? It is, I believe, the 2015, there's multiple versions of this, the 2015 first section on security. All right, the expression of ideas rather than the ideas themselves usually protects artistic property such as writing, recordings, databases, and computer programs. Okay, the expression of ideas, this is either trademark or copyright. So I'm trying to remember which is the expression and which is the idea themselves. So I think copyright is what is the expression. Yeah. And my thinking there is that it's always the things that are copied. Like these are all the things that could be copied. Okay. Intellectual property patents. Copyright. Pranay got it right. And 8-bit. Great. Yeah. Intellectual property is like really ideas that have value. So I think that would be the other portion of this. Controls implemented to remedy circumstance, mitigate damage, or restore controls. So more fun control talk. As an aside, the game Control is tremendous. It's like playing the X-Files. And the ray tracing looks so good. Shiny surfaces everywhere. A janitor with an Eastern European accent who's the most terrifying person in the game. Backups. I think this is restorative controls. Corrective controls. All right. Corrective controls it is. All right. A breach for which it was confirmed the data was actually disclosed, not just exposed to an unauthorized party. So it's not just a breach. Data disclosure, data confirmed breach. That was actually disclosed. I think I know what this is. Recovery. And that's got good guesses. All right. A breach which is confirmed that data was actually disclosed. I think this is actually data loss. Data disclosure. I was thinking loss of control, not loss like someone shredded the hard drive, but data disclosure. Okay. Exploit. That's a good guess, Amir. Also, Amir, I don't know. I would have thought Amir was AMIR, but if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I apologize. Not intentional. All right. Controls designed to signal a warning when a security control has been breached. Yeah, sometimes the answer's in the questions, which, yeah, that's all right. But it does make you think like, oh, it couldn't be that, but it could. All right. Controls designed to signal a warning when a security control has been breached. Hello, Ronak. All right, controls designed to signal a warning when a security control has been breached. All right, it is Amir. Detective controls. It's like Batman. Though, the Zack Snyder films, he hasn't been so detective-y. Hey, detective controls. All right. Controls designed to discourage people from violating security directives. Well, we know these aren't detective. Um, I'm going to guess and say deterrent controls. Hey, discourage people from violating security directives. I actually don't know what a good example of that is. I suppose firing someone is a deterrent control if they breach security, but I don't know if that's exactly it. If someone has a good example of a deterrent control, they could throw it in chat. That would be very helpful. So, okay. Controls designed to specify acceptable rules of behavior within an organization. Specify acceptable rules of behavior. Okay. Oh, a camera. I wasn't thinking of that, but that makes a lot of sense. That the camera's out there, has a blinky red light on it, and it's there, it won't stop someone from smashing in the glass door on the front of the store, but it's there to yeah, I'll be on camera if that happens. Banners. This says all information in this will be recorded. Physical security. All right. Hey, buddy, I want to ask something. I'm in school. After 1 year, I'm coming to college. I want to go to cybersecurity and ethical hacking like CEH. So is expensive. So for bad English. Well, that's a lot to take in, Ronak. So expensive. Don't feel bad about not having good English. My English struggles, and I'm sure you're doing better than me at being bilingual. So, just here trying to help and answer questions. And wow, thank you, everyone. These are really good examples. If you violate acceptable use, can be punishable to full extent of law and termination. Jeremy is laying things down. All right. So controls designed to specify acceptable rules of behavior. I think this is policies. Maybe it's very specifically acceptable use policies. Directive controls. We were all wrong. Controls designed to specify acceptable rules of behavior. And I guess the thing is that a policy is not exactly a control. So it's a directive control. Again, examples if anyone has them. And I guess as a mnemonic, I try to think in terms of mnemonics because it helps me remember for the actual test. But to think of like a director on a movie set that says oh yeah, you have to stay within these lines. You have to do these things at this times. And that's what's acceptable or else it won't work. Just to try to make it stick a little better. Okay. The care a reasonable person would exercise under given circumstances. Okay, so this is the legal terms. I believe this is either due care or due diligence. And I think care is what it is in the circumstances because it's what is set up. In the question, let's see. Due care. Use of Ronus in the past, loved it. Oh, caring for your job. All right. Well, I'm glad you like Veronis. All right. Due diligence, Jeremy. It was the other one. Sorry, but I think that's the first one you missed. All right. Is similar to due care with the exception that it is a preemptive measure made to avoid harm to other persons or the property. I think this is due diligence, and I'm just gonna count everyone who preemptively answered due diligence for the last one as they were actually answering this. So all of you got it preemptively right in Minority Report style. But yeah, similar to due care with the exception that it is a preemptive measure made to avoid harm to other persons or their property. If anyone has any good tips on distinguishing the two, that would be great. But to my mind, due care is what everyone should be doing, but I feel like the due diligence is typically like the investigation or the extra steps that need to be done. Okay. A process designed to identify potential events. Sorry, it's going to be potential events that may affect the entity manage risk so it is within its risk appetite and provide reasonable assurance regarding the achievement of entity objectives. So this is a process. So we know it's not a control. It's designed to identify potential risks and affect the entity manage risks and provide. This is just risk management, risk mitigation, risk deterrence. Oh, directive controls could be Wi-Fi parental controls, as in whitelisted websites and blacklisted websites through a web filter box. I suppose. I don't know. I feel like that's not a. I guess I feel like that's not a directive. That's like an enforcement. That, it's not a warning not to go there, but it's just like not letting you in. That, again, these things are hard to parse out. Everyone seems to like risk management, which I do too. Enterprise risk management. I don't know if the enterprise is terribly important here, but yeah. I was thinking mitigation, but, this managing of the risk makes me think it's more risk management. Mitigation, I guess, would just like lowering of the risk without any sense of the goals or the other things. Okay. Authorize the president to regulate exports of civilian goods and technologies that have military applications. I think this is the same Arms Control Act, but let's see. Arms Control Act of 76? No, the Export Administration Act. The act you don't see coming is the one that gets you for arms control. All right, Export Administration Act. Authorize the president to regulate exports of civilian goods and technologies that have military applications. Okay. All right. Ensures the business's focus on core activities, clarifies who in the organization has the authority to make decisions, determines accountability for actions and responsibility for outcomes, and addresses how expected performance will be evaluated. Ensures the focuses. Is it procedures? Who has the authority to make decisions? This is executive functions. This is so broad, it doesn't even seem like a security question or concept. Responsibility? Governance. Yeah. Governance. That's how they get you. Ensures the business focuses on core activities. It almost feels like it should be due governance. Like, yeah, everyone should be doing this. Roles and responsibilities. Okay. Next one. A security event that compromises the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of an information asset. Yeah, a net got governance. A net. Good work. All right. A security event that compromises the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of an information asset. So, it's kind of breach, security event, or attack, or security event that compromises. Security event. All right, let's see. Incident. Security event that compromises. I guess that's true. I think of incident more as like the write-up afterwards. Only compromise, which is, I think, French for event. French for event. I was trying to make a joke that was French for compromise, and I messed it up. I would have thought breach too, but, I guess that doesn't make sense. Like if someone cuts the cable between, your SAN and your main server or your network, that is not a breach. That's, it affects availability. Someone, writes a program that scrambles all your data and messes up the integrity of it. That's not a breach, but it is an incident. Okay. Comes in two forms: making sure that information is processed correctly and not modified by unauthorized persons, and protecting information as it transits a network. Okay. Pretty sure this was mentioned in the last question too. Hey, the Ratatouille. Hello, Emily. Hello. Compromise? Oh, yeah. All right. We don't actually require any of the answers to be spelled correctly, to be clear. All right. Comes in two forms. Making sure that information is processed correctly and not modified by unauthorized persons, and protecting information as it transits the network. I think a lot of people will know this, so I'm just going to give everyone a second to answer. All right. What's the difference between incident and breach? I think breach is specifically the loss of control of the data, where incident is broader. Like, and I think it goes to, the confidentiality, integrity, or availability. And especially with the availability, there's a lot of things that could be done where, the data is no longer available, but it hasn't been a breach. Like, imagine that you don't have backups and your entire server farm burns to the ground. It's not available. No one stole it. No one can access the data, but it is no longer available. So that would be an incident. Not exactly a security incident, but as part of like governance, it makes sense. And I think Jeremy got it right here, which is, I'm pretty sure this is integrity. Yeah. So 8-bit said encryption, which is like how you would enforce the integrity of this, but that's not like the manager definition of it or like the broader definition of it. Okay. Accountable for ensuring the protection of all of the business information assets from intentional and unintentional loss, disclosure, alteration, destruction, and unavailability. So this is worded weird. I'm not sure if it means like a person or it's a process, but accountable for ensuring the protection of all of the business information assets from intentional and unintentional loss, disclosure, alteration, destruction, and ability. I don't know if this is business continuity, disaster preparation, disaster recovery, accountable for ensuring the protection. Yeah. Joseph Gomez, welcome to the chat, says an incident can lead to a breach, which I think is a good way of thinking about it. So an incident is anything you need to write up a report for, though I doubt it's going to be described that way on the test. So. Controls data owner, information security officer. So they wanted a person. It would have been a lot more helpful if it said the person accountable for ensuring the protection. But information security officer. But Jeremy got close with, I think, data owner. I mean, because a lot of that, it's an overlap there. All right. Granting users only the accesses that they are required to perform their job functions. I'm going to give everyone a chance. I was thinking backups. I think that's an aspect of making sure that happens, but it's not like who's accountable for doing them. So, all right. Granting users only the accesses that are required to perform their job functions. Least privilege and a hand slap. I think that's like a double answer. That's great. Least privilege. I don't know if like hand slaps is a service, like a PowerShell script you run that does it. Authorization. Authorization is an interesting answer because authorization would be whether or not they have been granted rights to it, but not that it's been cut back to only what they need. Like you could have only authorized users on the network and they have access to everything on the network because that's what, you put down in the permissions for them. That is not least privilege. Like they should only have what they need. They don't actually need access to everything on the network. I think that's the difference there. And people are still saying RBAC. RBAC just seems like a popular answer. I think people are just saying that all the time. Hand slap is a joke for telling people no. I'm aware of what it is. I have had my hand slapped and slapped some hands. So, all right. Electronic hardware and software solutions implemented to control access to information and information networks. Whoa. Hey, it's quick. Firewall. Let's see if it's firewall. Logical technical controls. Too many times people ask for more than what they need. Developers do this. Oh, you developers. Coming in here, trying to get more access than you need. You don't need to access that database. Get out of here. All right. Logical technical controls. Electronic hardware and software solutions to control access to information and information networks. I thought you were right with a firewall, by the way. Technical control, logical technical control. Yeah, is the correct answer. Electronic hardware and software solutions. All right. Next. Protects novel, useful, and non-obvious inventions. And Pranay, you're asking what's the difference between a technical control and a firewall? I mean, a firewall is like an implementation of the technical controls. All right. Protects novel, useful, and non-obvious inventions. I think someone mentioned this for a previous answer. So anytime they're talking about controls, that means that they're talking in the abstract. We're talking about sort of the function of the thing and not the thing itself. So a firewall is an implementation or a means to achieve a technical control. In the same way that, we're talking about like access and authorization, like, you're saying a non-technical way. A non-technical way would be like a lock on a door, like, So someone said intellectual property, getting back to this one, protects novel, useful, and non-obvious inventions. I think this is patent. I think the clue is that it says invention. If it says invention, I think it's patent. Intellectual property is all of the non-tangible items, trademarks and copyrights. All right. Controls to protect the organization's people and physical environment, such as locks, fire management, gates, and guards. Physical controls may be called operational controls in some contexts. And I think this gives it away. This is just physical controls. Yeah. But it's easy to forget about them in the context of the CISSP because I think there's very few people that are trying to pass this that come from like a physical security standpoint. It's almost all like technical InfoSec stuff. All right. Controls implemented to prevent a security incident or information breach. All right. So Jeremy got physical control. I got notification from Restream. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is actually quite delightful. I really appreciate it. Controls implemented to prevent a security incident or information breach. And in MDF and IDFs, like in data centers. Yeah, locks in data centers. All right, Annette is saying preventative controls, and I feel like Annette knows what she's talking about, so let's go with her answer. Preventative. Great job, Annette. Annette, do you have your CISSP already? All right. Well, Annette's answering that or not. She's also joining from LinkedIn. She might be able to share her LinkedIn. All right. Controls implemented to restore conditions to normal after a security incident. These are always tricky, all these control types. Restorative, reformative, re-implemented controls. I think restorative control. Recovery control. No. 8-bit got recovery. Don't worry, Annette. I don't have mine either. We'll get there. All right. How quickly you need to have that application's information available after downtime has occurred. How quickly you need to have that application's information available. So remember, this is like recovery time or maximum downtime, maximum recovery time. Acceptable? Maybe it's acceptable. It's a lot of acceptable acronyms. Like acceptable. How quickly you have the application soon? As soon as possible. Sorry for clearing my throat on the mic there. But yeah, as soon as possible is the correct answer. But usually it's expressed in a more formal thing like mean time to recovery. How quickly? I think it's minimum recovery time objective. Ugh. RTO Speedwagon. Quickly new applications. All right. The point in time to which data must be restored in order to successfully resume processing. RTO, yes. Recovery time objective. All right. Also, I don't consider it cheating if you Google for these things quickly. It still works. Tab 135 says backup. How quickly you need to have that application's information available after downtime has occurred. All right, so that was recovery time objective. And now I'm on the wrong slide. I apologize. All right, the point in time to which data must be restored in order to successfully resume processing. The point in time. So this is time-based objective, acceptable time, recovery point objective. I feel like Annette is psychic. She got this so quick. Okay. All right. A combination of the probability of an event and its consequence, an expectation of loss expressed as the probability that a particular threat will exploit a particular vulnerability with a particularly harmful result. Okay. I think this is one of the ones where this definition is a lot more complicated than the answer, but I'll see what people have to say here in the chat. I feel like I should hum Jeopardy music. I know we talked about it before on one of them, but it sounds like other people were annoyed that Dr. Oz was going to be hosting Jeopardy as well. So he's not. Yeah, Risk is what I was thinking, Jeremy. Risk. Very good. All right. The practice of accepting certain risks, typically based on a business decision that may also weigh the cost versus the benefit of dealing with the risk in another way. So accepting risks. So I think this is risk acceptance or, yeah, risk acceptance. This gets tricky where I think mitigation is lowering the risk, like taking the steps that the risk is not as severe, and that's close to this. And I think it really hinges on whether or not you've just made the determination that there's nothing else we can do. We're just going to have to deal with this. All right, the practice of coming up with alternatives so that the risk in question is not realized. This is like swerving around it. I'm just going to give it a couple seconds for people to answer here. Coming up with alternatives so that the risk is not realized. All right. Thanks, Jeremy. See you later. All right. Risk avoidance. Yeah. Okay. The practice of the elimination of or the significant decrease in the level of risk presented. Yeah, Joseph said mitigation. Also, I think this is too, risk mitigation. Very good. All right. The practice of passing on the risk in question to another entity, such as an insurance company. Risk treatment. It's a good thought. I don't think that's it. I think it's something else. I think it's like transference. Risk transfer? Yeah. So I think risk treatment is like mitigation, that you're doing things to it to reduce the risk, not actually giving it to someone else. So, okay. A systematic process for identifying, analyzing, evaluating, remedying, and monitoring risk. Okay. Systematic process for identifying, analyzing, evaluating, remedying, and monitoring risk. 39. All right. And what is this? Risk management? Managing? Yeah, risk management. Okay. Finds the difference between the original value and the remaining value of an asset after a single exploit. Oh gosh. This is a very particular term, and I've forgotten what it is. The original value and the remaining value of an asset. Diminished value, core value, deprecated? No, that's not right. Diminished, sim. I don't. Are you just guessing? Is that? Are you answering a different question? I don't know. Now I'm starting to doubt myself. So, loss of value. Single loss expectancy. After a single exploit. I guess it's the single exploit. Single loss expectancy. This is so tough for me just because I always think in terms of like, oh, well, you're running a network, you have a data breach, they take some data, it's this thing. It's hard to quantify like what that is by a single loss expectancy. All right. Any single input to a process that, if missing, would cause the process or several processes to be unable to function. If missing. So I think this is point of failure, maybe? I'm going to wait to see what other people think. Single points of failure. Yeah. All right. All right. Any word, name, symbol, color, sound, product, shape, device, or combination of these that is used to identify goods and distinguish them from those made or sold by others. And I think, I think everyone thinks of this in terms of either this is intellectual property, that's the blanket thing. This is a specific subset of that, which is either copyright or trademark. And the thing that helps me remember this is trade, which is that trademark items have to do with being sold, being bought. This has the key of sold by others. So I think this is trademark. Yeah. And that's how I keep them organized in my head. Okay. Proprietary business or technical information, processes, designs, practices that are confidential and critical to the business. I think this is Annette's time to shine because I think she's answered intellectual property like 4 times. Trade secret, and I blew it. Now I feel really bad. So I didn't think that was trade secret. I thought that was intellectual property. Business or technical information. And I guess I blew this in almost the same way. Like I was talking about like, oh, this is made or sold by others. But this has the proprietary business or technical information. So intellectual property could be non-business things. I mean, like someone's artwork isn't necessarily, they may not be selling it, but it's still their intellectual property and you can't just take it. Trade secret. I messed up. All right. Determines the potential impact of disruptive events on the organization's business processes. Potential impact. So it's a planning function maybe? Determines the potential impact of disruptive events on the organizations. Or is this, sometimes how this is worded is that it's the thing that deals with that. So what would determine the potential impact? So business continuity, business resiliency determines the potential impact of disruptive events. Risk planning, incident planning, vulnerability assessment. Okay, that's what it is. All right. Oh gosh. Established to contribute to regional and international security and stability by promoting transparency and greater responsibility in transfers of conventional arms and dual-use goods and technologies, thus preventing destabilizing accumulations. Oh gosh. We've all, you've all woken up on a Monday, gone into work, and had to deal with preventing destabilizing accumulations. I assume this is one of the two acts, either the Export Act of 79 or the Arms Control Act of 76. And because it mentions arms, I think this is the 1976 one. And it's neither of those. I failed us all. It's the Wassenaar Agreement. Not even agreement, arrangement. I can't even read now. It's throwing me off so much. Oh. Established control. And I guess it's this regional international security. All right. Well, now comes the time, I think, Joseph left. But Annette, I think you are the winner today. So our sponsor, Varonis, has like nice Yeti mugs, which mine isn't here because I must have actually used it because I use it quite a bit. But they'll ship you a free one if you email me at Varonis. My email's mbuckby@varonis.com, and just email me your address. We'll ship you out a mug that you can use for your own beverages. I want to thank everyone else for participating today, and good luck studying for your CISSP. I know a lot of people in the U.S., it's Easter weekend. Have a happy Easter. If not, maybe you have spring break coming up. Enjoy your spring break. Maybe it's some sunshine because it's freezing cold here. Stay safe, everyone, and talk to you later. Bye.